Today, we are diving into a medical procedure we totally take for granted, but it has one of the most terrifying backstories in all of science: the blood transfusion. It's an incredible story that starts as a deadly gamble and somehow ends as a life-saving gift.
I mean, think about it. You go into a modern hospital, and a blood transfusion is pretty routine. It's a cornerstone of emergency medicine, of major surgery. It's just a simple, safe procedure that happens in minutes.
But for almost all of human history, that simple bag of blood was a complete and total mystery. And trying to move it from one person to another wasn't just risky. It was, more often than not, a guaranteed and absolutely horrific death sentence. So how in the world did we get from a procedure that was literally banned for being too lethal to something that saves millions of lives every single year? Well, that is the incredible story we are about to unpack.
First, to really get why doctors were willing to take such insane risks, you have to picture the world they lived in. It was a world where any serious blood loss was an absolute killer, and they were completely powerless to stop it.
And let's be really clear about this. Before the 20th century, if you lost a lot of blood, you died. Period. Didn't matter if it was from a battle wound, a farming accident, or even childbirth. Doctors could stitch up the injury, but they couldn't replace what was lost. They had to just stand there and watch. And that desperation, well, it pushed them to try something really radical.
And here's where it gets really weird. Their desperation was mixed with this profound misunderstanding of what blood even was. To them, it wasn't just some fluid. Oh no, it was the very essence of life, the thing that carried your personality, your soul, even your madness. And that belief, it was about to lead to some truly horrifying experiments.
So you fast forward to the 1600s, and you've got this perfect storm of desperation and deeply flawed science. It all led to this massive, and as it turns out, catastrophic leap into the unknown. Doctors decided to try transfusing blood.
Now here's the part that's just mind-blowing. They weren't using human blood. They actually thought that giving someone the gentle blood of a lamb might calm them down, or that the blood of a brave animal could somehow transfer courage. The results, as you can see, were an absolute disaster. Transfusions from sheep, calves, dogs, they all led to immediate, violent, and fatal reactions in humans.
Just try to imagine being the patient. You're already sick, and then this supposed cure triggers agonizing chest pain, a raging fever, confusion, and delirium. Eyewitness accounts from that time actually describe patients screaming in agony right before they died. It was a complete and utter medical nightmare.
So yeah, no surprise, the medical establishment stepped in and shut it down hard. The practice was banned across most of Europe. The official verdict was in. Blood transfusion was a failed idea, so dangerous it should never ever be tried again. And for almost 200 years, it wasn't.
So the practice was totally abandoned, but this question just sort of hung in the air. Why did it fail so catastrophically? I mean, scientists knew blood was essential for life, so why was trying to share it so incredibly deadly?
Well, the problem was that they were missing the most fundamental pieces of the puzzle. They had no idea that blood types even existed. They didn't understand the immune system or how it viciously attacks anything it sees as foreign. To them, blood was just blood. And that one simple, deadly assumption was costing countless lives.
And now, we get to the moment where everything changes. After centuries of failure and confusion, science finally provides the answer. And that brings us to the hero of our story, an Austrian scientist named Karl Landsteiner.
So in 1901, Landsteiner is in his lab and he's doing these simple but absolutely brilliant experiments. He's just mixing blood samples from his different lab workers and watching what happens. Sometimes, nothing. But other times, the red blood cells would suddenly clump together into these little masses. He had just discovered blood groups. And this right here, this is the whole secret. That clumping you saw? That was the fatal immune reaction everyone had been witnessing for centuries. It was the body's defense system attacking foreign blood cells. But, and this is the key, if you mix blood of the same type, it flowed together perfectly. The secret to a safe transfusion wasn't some magic formula. It was just about finding a perfect match. Landsteiner identified the first three main groups, A, B, and O. His students found the fourth one, AB, just a little bit later. This simple classification system was the code that finally unlocked modern transfusion. It was such a monumental discovery, he went on to win the Nobel Prize for it. Okay, but a discovery in a lab is one thing. Turning it into a tool you can use on a massive scale to save lives, that is a whole other challenge. And sadly,
It took the immense tragedy of World War I to force that leap forward.
The sheer number of soldiers bleeding to death on the front lines created this intense pressure to innovate, and fast. Doctors quickly figured out that adding a simple substance, citrate, could stop blood from clotting. They learned that refrigeration could keep it fresh for days. And suddenly, for the first time ever, blood didn't have to go directly from one person's arm to another's. It could be stored, transported. They'd created the first mobile blood banks that could travel right to the battlefield.
The success on the front lines was just undeniable, and after the war, the whole idea spread like wildfire. The first public blood banks opened up in the 1930s. By the time World War II came around, blood transfusion was standard medical care for both soldiers and civilians. This one innovation made all kinds of complex surgeries possible and sent survival rates for all sorts of conditions through the roof. Blood was no longer a mystery. It was medicine.
But as we celebrate this incredible achievement, we have to hit pause for a second and remember how we got here. Because this progress, it wasn't clean, it wasn't easy, it came at a really terrible human cost.
The history of transfusion is just littered with ethical nightmares. Those early patients, they never consented to having animal blood pumped into their veins. The scientists had no real idea of the risks they were taking, and there was absolutely zero oversight. Hundreds, maybe even thousands of people died in these experiments. Their unintentional sacrifices literally built the foundation of knowledge that we all rely on today.
It's an almost unbelievable contrast when you think about it. This procedure that we see today as a symbol of hope and healing, it really began as one of medicine's most dangerous and deadly gambles. And yet somehow, from all of that darkness and failure, we gained one of our most powerful tools to fight death. It was just a brutal, brutal journey from complete mystery to life-saving understanding.
So, the next time you hear about a blood transfusion, or maybe see a call for blood donors, just remember the incredible journey that is contained in every single drop. A journey from horrifying experiments to a simple, selfless act of giving. Every bag of blood carries that history, and every single donor carries hope.